There's a purpose for all of us. There's a purpose for everyone. Thank you, Dan Vega from Sedona, Arizona, our musical inspiration for today. And welcome to all of you who are with us this morning at Creative Living Fellowship on our online service. I also would like to thank our music director, David Panessa, and Deb Covington, who is our song leader today. And of course, our AV team, Luis Morales and Nicole Jordan. Thank you very, very much. And I can't leave out Carrie Sherman and Ralph Potter. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here. And as I said, this is our online service, as you know, and we are still practicing social distancing, and we're all wearing masks except for when we're on camera and speaking to you. And it's a little bit different. It's different for us here, just as different for you there, wherever you are. All of our lives are different now, and we are moving through this time. We're all moving through this time, and we're moving through this time together, and that's what's important for us to remember, that we're all in this together, and we're all coming through this together, and we're all moving through this together. Keeping in mind that our theme for the month of April, well, our theme for the year, actually, is Life is for Living, Just Say Yes. Life is for living, just say yes. And it is so important for us to say yes to life at this time, to say yes to life as we move through what can be termed a difficult time, what can be termed a different time, what can be termed an unusual time, what can be termed an abnormal time. Whatever we term it, it's still life. And life is for living, and it's important for all of us and each of us to say yes to it. Just continue to take a deep breath and say yes to it. Because life continues to happen. Life continues to be life, whether we say yes or not. And the more yeses we have in life, the more we say yes, the easier it is for us to be in this life and to live this life to the fullest, and to really understand that life is for living. And we live it moment by moment by moment. And speaking of moments, our theme for the month of April is precious moments. Precious moments. And I've invited you all month to just look at the precious moments of your life. Look at the precious moment in each and every day, and look at the preciousness of each moment of each and every day. And because there are so many moments that we have in these days that we're at home, and these days that we're social distancing, and these days that we're not working, and these days that we're doing something that's totally different, that totally seems out of the normal for us. One moment I want us to be really aware of that I'll talk about today is the meltdown moment. The meltdown moment. You know the meltdown moment? Those moments when we just freak out. Those moments when we just crack up. Those moments when we just explode. Those moments when we just have an emotional eruption, kind of like a volcano. And that's how the meltdown generally happens. It generally happens with some kind of really, really serious, or serious for depending on what your personality type is, can be a really serious outburst. But you know, meltdown can also be very quiet, a turning within, a withholding, a turning it in upon ourselves and just holding everything in and just being really, really quiet. That's sort of my way of melting down. It's just to get really quiet and really still and just close off. And that's just as damaging and dangerous at times as erupting outwardly. But whatever the case may be, a meltdown is really an important time. It's an important moment. It's an important thing for us to recognize that the meltdown happens because we've been holding on to so much. And in our lives today, with the things that we go through with COVID-19, we spend so much time going through the differences, going through how different our lives are, going through how many things have changed, going through just can't wait to get back to normal, just can't wait to get back to our normal lives, can't wait to get back to the store, can't wait to get back to the restaurant, can't wait to do whatever. And you know what? This is the new normal. This is the new normal. This is a thing that we have to keep in mind, that this is the new normal. And being wherever we are at any moment is adjusting ourselves to the new normal rather than continuing to hold on to trying to get back to where we were. We can never go back to where we were. Things will never be the same. When something changes, everything changes. I say that all the time. When something changes, everything changes. When something changes, everything changes. So we can never go back to where we were. Just think about 9/11. Think about life if you can remember what life was like before September 11th, 2001. There were times when we used to be able to go to the airport and take our family members or friends or loved ones or whoever right up to the gate and then meet them at the gate when their planes came in, or hang around at the airport and have a meal there and do all kinds of things. Hearing about or even thinking about security lines to get to your gate, a security line at the airport, that was something that was totally unheard of. Now, there are people who are alive today who don't even know what that was like before, to not have security lines at the airport, to not be able to stop at the curb and wait for somebody as long as you wanted to wait, or to park your car anywhere you wanted to park. This has become the new normal, the way that we live our lives today, as far as the things that changed as a result of 9/11. Because of that one day, that one incident that happened then, everything changed. And everything continues to change. There are more regulations, there are more rules, there are more security things that have to happen as a result of that one incident. And so I invite you to just look at how things are today and how quickly things change in our lives. Because remember, 2 months ago, we weren't doing this. We've been doing Sunday service online only for just a little over a month now. Actually, March 22nd was the first service we did online only. And it seems like we've been doing it forever. It seems like it's been forever since I've seen you guys. It seems like I haven't seen you in forever. Except that I do have the Tuesday night connection call on Zoom, and I do get to see some of you who are on that call with us. I wish that all of you would just come and join us on Tuesday nights at 6:30 for the Zoom call, because it's really nice to see each other and give virtual hugs and do all that. But what I'm really talking about is how quickly things can change and how many things we take for granted, how we took for granted being able to come here every Sunday, how we took for granted being able to see each other every Sunday, how we took for granted our meet and greet, how we took for granted so many things. And all of that has changed. And we don't know when that's going to happen again. But what we have to do now, let's take a breath. That's what we have to do now. Let's take a breath as we recognize that even though things have changed, we are still living life. This is still life. Even though they've changed in a way we don't like, in a way we don't understand, in a way that we can't manage or control, in a way that we can't predict, it's still life. It's still life. And to the degree that we're not going with it, to the degree that we're trying to manage it, to the degree that we are holding in whatever anger we may feel about it, whatever sadness we may feel about it, whatever grief we may feel about it, whatever fear we may have about it, to the degree that we're holding all that in and still trying to manage and control things, we're just piling one thing on top of another, one thing on top of another, and there's a buildup that starts to happen. There's a pressure buildup that starts to happen. Because we are holding it in, we aren't dealing with it, we aren't letting it out, we're just holding it in. And we're trying to manage and hold everything together. And that's kind of how we have to live our lives sometimes. We do have to manage things. We do have to keep things together. Whether we are home with our kids, home with our spouses, home alone, whether we are home working or whether we are without a job right now, or whatever the case may be, whatever our circumstances and situations may be now, there still is a part of us that has to kind of hold things together, but there's a part of us that when we get so into holding that together that we forget that it's not all ours to do. That there's a power greater than we are. There's a source to which we can turn always. There's a source to which we can turn always that already knows how this is supposed to go, that already knows how we walk through this time, that already knows what we are to do and what we are not to do, what's ours to do and what's not ours to do. And when we are so busy managing and controlling and holding everything together, we forget all that. We forget all that. we forget that we're not in this alone. We forget that we're not our own source. And when we do that, then that's when the buildup happens. And after a while, when things build up so much, it's just like a tea kettle that the water's boiling, 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 the lid's on it, and all of a sudden it explodes. And that's when the meltdown happens. That's when the meltdown happens. Your meltdown may look like crying uncontrollably. Someone else's meltdown may look like yelling, anger. Someone else's meltdown may look like drinking or some substance abuse or whatever, or eating, or whatever the case may be. But it's that point at which we just can't take anymore because everything seems to be overwhelming. And once it becomes overwhelming, there's an explosion. There's an explosion that happens. I invite you to be with that meltdown. Let's take a breath together and just really think about when you've had a meltdown recently, how many you've had recently. And some people are having a lot of them. I hear a lot about the meltdowns that people have, and that's what made me think about the meltdown moment. And I'm inviting you to really be with that meltdown moment and recognize that it's okay, because meltdowns are something that we've been, I guess, society has taught us to be embarrassed by it, to be ashamed of having a meltdown, to criticize or to judge someone having a meltdown. And I'm saying to you, just take a breath and have it. Just do it. Just be with it. So long as you're not doing something that's dangerous or harmful to you or to someone else, whatever that is, be in that. Be with that. Say yes to the meltdown. Say yes to the meltdown and then let it all up, because you know what a meltdown is? It's a release. It's a release. And before the meltdown, when there's all that buildup, as I said, that's a block. That's a block. There's no way for the free flow of spirit. There's no way for the free flow of source energy to flow through us when we are in that place of holding on, when we're in that place of managing and controlling, when we're in that place of pretending everything's okay, when we're in that place of, I'm going to come out of this and go back to the way things used to be. When we're in that place, there's no way that there can be that free flow of spirit in our lives, that free flow of source energy in our lives. And so what we have to do is to just take a breath, be with that meltdown, whatever it looks like, and walk through that, go through that, cry through that, yell through that, sleep through that, whatever the case may be. As I said, so long as it's not harmful to you, just be where you are. Be where you are. Take a breath and be where you are. Because you know what? The transformation, the healing is in the meltdown. The healing is in the release. The healing is in the release, because once you release, you've opened up. Once you release, you've let it go. Once you release, you've created a space. You've created a space for God to work. You've created a space for God to be present, fully present. You've created a space so that you can experience that presence that is always right where we are, always right where we are in each and every moment, in each and every situation and circumstance. And when we have that meltdown, we create a space. It's like, wow. And when we take that big breath, we recognize, you know what? Then you can begin to assess what's been going on. You can assess what your feelings are, because in our teaching, Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life, yes, that's our basic teaching, change your thinking, change your life, and so very true that is. But when we are so caught up in thinking and not dealing with feeling, then that's when we get into trouble, because we're so busy changing our thinking and thinking our way out of it. We have got to at some point acknowledge the feelings that we're dealing with. And when we can acknowledge the feelings, it's the thinking that can bring us through that. It's the thinking that can bring us through those feelings. But we got to deal with the feelings when they come up. Deal with how we're feeling. If you're feeling fear, if you're feeling scared to death, acknowledge that. Deal with that. Admit that you're really feeling scared. That doesn't mean that you're going to operate out of fear. It just means that you're acknowledging that you're feeling scared, and that means that you're human. And when you're feeling scared, then you know that you can take that to prayer, because there's a power greater that can handle our fears. There's a power greater in which we can put our trust. There's a power greater in which we can put our faith. There's a power greater that can walk us through this, that can bring us through this, in spite of our fear. But if we aren't acknowledging that we have the fear, then we're blocking any opportunity for that power to work in and through and as our lives. And so I invite you to really deal with your feelings, because as I've said before, if you can't feel it, you can't heal it. If you can't feel it, you can't heal it. You got to be able to feel it in order to heal it, to know exactly where you are. So if it's anger, if it's grief, if it's sadness, or whatever the case may be that you're experiencing right now, allow yourself to be right there. Allow yourself to admit, this is what I'm feeling. This is how I'm feeling. It feels pretty not so good right now. And then talk to somebody about it if you need to. See a practitioner. We have practitioners who are on our website, whose contact information is on our website. Call a practitioner to pray with you, to walk with you through this process. Call a minister, call a friend, call a therapist, whatever you need to do to really have some assistance in going through this process, because it's very, very difficult to do something like this by ourselves. So the place that we always want to turn is back to source. And sometimes we can't turn to source until we have somebody help us to move through that process of releasing some of that negative energy, some of that energy that has built up, some of that energy that has piled up. And so I invite you to really reassess where you are once you recognize that I had a meltdown, or I'm having a meltdown, and have somebody to help you walk through that meltdown. And then you know what? Give thanks to the meltdown. Give thanks for the meltdown. Give thanks for the fact that I've had this experience, because once you've had it, then you're open. Then all kinds of possibilities exist. Once you've had it, then you have an opportunity to look at, okay, now what do I do? Now how do I move forward? Now what do I want to do? Now where do I want to be? Yes, I may be out of a job now. Yes, different things may have happened. I may not be able to see family. I may not be able to travel. I may not be able to do whatever the case may be. And what do I do from this point? What do I do from this place? How do I handle where I am now? Because I know that there's a power and a presence within me that is guiding me, that is directing me. Always, always, always. That is right where we are, always. And so we turn to that over and over and over again to guide us, to direct us, to show us the way. And we give thanks for the meltdown, because we can let the meltdown be our launching pad. The meltdown can be the launching pad to launch us forward into the future, to launch us into that place where we're open and we're receptive to allowing spirit to move through us, to allowing ourselves to be guided, to allowing ourselves to be directed, to allowing ourselves to be protected, to allowing ourselves to be guarded, to allowing ourselves to just be in the presence of God, to just be in the presence of God, and to live our lives from that place of the presence of God. That's where we want to be. And so I invite you to really, really, really have that meltdown. Say yes to it if that's what you need to do. Be with it. Get some help if you need. Get some prayer work if you need. Do your spiritual practice, because when we're doing our spiritual practice, it doesn't always mean we're not going to have a meltdown, but it means that we do know how to get out of it. We do know how to turn things over. We do know how to pick up the phone and call someone. And we do know, because when we're doing our spiritual practice, we are so closely aligned with the all that is, that we're guided. We know exactly what to do. The right people come along, the right situations come along, the right circumstances come along. All kinds of things happen that are called miracles. But it's just God being God. It's just God being God. And the song says, God is always God. No matter what our emotional storm or what our individual situation, objective situation may be. God is always God. No matter what our emotional storm or what our objective situation may be. God is always God. God is always God, always being the supreme being, always being the infinite, always being the divine intelligence, always being our very life. Always being our very life. And so when we can be in a place where we consciously align ourselves with that power and that presence within us, when we can be in that place, then we can do, as the reading said, we can seek room for peace. We can seek room for peace. That's what we want to do. We want to seek room for peace. And that we know that to find peace, we have to go to that withinness. That's where it is. That it's in our own withinness that peace is. And so we're seeking room for peace by turning within over and over and over again. Ernest Holmes says, know that there's an intelligence to which you may come. Know that there's an intelligence to which you may come, not go. Know that there's an intelligence to which you may come for inspiration, for guidance, for direction. A power watching over us, a presence pressing against us, an inspiration animating us, a light within us. That presence we call God, that presence we call Source. Know that there's that intelligence within us, that intelligence within us, that intelligence to which we may come. And we do that, and the more we come, the more we turn within, the more we do our spiritual practice, the more we do our meditation, the more we do our prayer work, the more we do our centering, our releasing, our letting go, then the more we are in alignment with the all that is, with that intelligence that already knows exactly how this is going to work out. We get freaked out because we don't know how this is going to work out. We never know how anything's going to work out. We never knew how anything was going to work out. And we don't know how this is going to work out. But you know what? There's that presence that does know. There's that presence that all of this is already a divine idea in the mind of God. The outcome of this is a divine idea in the mind of God. The solution is a divine idea in the mind of God. All of this is a divine idea in the mind of God. And when we are in line with that, in alignment with that divine presence, then we are guided and we are directed and we are carried and we are protected and we are cared for and we are lifted up and we are loved. Throughout this time, all we need to do is trust. All we need to do is lean on that presence, lean into that presence, align ourselves with that presence. And when we get away from it, a meltdown will really bring us right back to it because we can release, we can let go, we can open up, we can allow. We can be in that place of allowing. And when we're in that place of allowing, oh my gosh, when we are in that place of allowing, we're saying, yes, God. I say yes, I say yes, I say yes, 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 yes. To your will and to your way. I say yes. That's all we have to do is say yes to it. So say yes to the meltdown. And as we have that, recognize the transformation in it. Recognize the freedom that happens once we have that meltdown. And be willing to be with it. Be willing to look at what doesn't look real pretty sometimes. And meltdowns are not pretty. Most of them aren't anyway. And be willing to be in that place of not being pretty. And be willing to then, once all that's out, then you get the answers, some of the answers that you need. Then you get the, oh, this is what I'm feeling. Oh, this is how I'm experiencing this. Oh, I didn't realize that I had that experience just yesterday. I've been just going through work the whole every day, working, doing things, being at home alone, going out for a walk, maybe coming back in, being at home alone, and just was really not feeling anything about what's going on. And I decided to take a nap, and when I woke up, I became aware that I hadn't really been dealing with feelings, what I was feeling through this time. And I recognized, there's a part of us that sometimes it's the child part of us, or an inner child part of us that is reacting to all the things that are going on we're not even aware of. And I was just so aware that there was a part of me that was feeling fear. That was feeling, and I didn't recognize it initially, but waking up from a nap, I thought, I didn't realize that I was feeling this. It's because I haven't been feeling it. I've been doing other things. I've been working. I've been doing. I've been busy. I've been eating a lot of almonds. So you know what? Once I stopped doing that, and once I, you know, when we're in that sleep state or coming out of that sleep state, there's a sort of an innocence there, and there was an innocence there, and I just, for a moment, just was in touch with some fear that I was feeling, and I realized that it was a little kid in me who was scared to death. She's like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? We don't know, whatever. This is what they're saying on TV and all this. And I had to take a deep breath, and I knew what to do. And I just did the practices that I know to do, just to calm down that part of me that was scared to death, that part that I had not been recognizing, that part that I had not been acknowledging, that little 3-year-old who can freak out when she's not really acknowledged. And so that's what I had to do. I had to acknowledge that there was a part of me that was really, really afraid. And there was a part of me that I had to calm down, because I know the truth. I know that God is in the midst of everything. I know that God has already taken care of this. I know where my faith and trust can be. And I had to let all of me be in alignment with that knowing. And I had to make sure that all of me was in alignment with that knowing. And that's what I'm inviting you to do. Make sure that all of you is in alignment with what you know to be the truth. Make sure that all of you is in alignment with the truth that you know change your thinking, change your life. With the truth that you know that God is all there is. With the truth that you know that the only thing that's real is God. That's what we know as adults. But as children, you know, we're not quite sure about that. And so there's a part of us that has to be all of us has to be in alignment. All of us has to be in alignment in order for us to stand in the truth that we know and to walk forward boldly, knowing that there's a presence that has gone before us, making straight our way in all ways and all things. That there's a presence that is always guiding us and directing us. That there's a presence that is always guarding us and protecting us. That there's a presence that already knows exactly what it is to do, how we're to do it, and everything. And we're just saying, yes, God. Yes, God. Yes, God. I'm trusting you more than I trust those newscasters. I'm trusting God more than I trust those predictions. I'm trusting God more than I trust all these things around me, these facts that I see. I'm trusting God in the midst of all of this. That's where we have to be. That's what we have to say. That's how we have to be. That's how we find that peace in our withinness. And so I'm just going to ask you to take another breath. Be with that place of meltdown. Seek room for peace in your own withinness. Seek room for peace in your own withinness. Making sure that you center down. Come to center all the time. I'm going to invite you right now to just take a breath. Just close your eyes for a moment. Just find that place within you where you can take a breath and you can feel at peace. Just take a breath and find that place within you where you can feel the presence of God. Take a breath. Letting go of your thinking. Take a breath and turn within. And just feel that place to which you're turning right now, so that you can return to it over and over and over again. Turn to this place within where there's quiet, where there's peace. Turn to this place within that can be your sanctuary. Turn to this place within that you can return to take a breath, to return to center. And that's the place from which we want to live our lives. That's the place from which we want to move forward. That's the place from which we want to do everything. But find, even if you're in a house full of people, there has to be a quiet corner. There has to be a bathroom even. There has to be your car. There has to be some place where you can just go just for a moment, turn within, take a breath, connect with that place within you, within each of us. Connect with that place. Take a breath and feel that presence within you. Take a breath and feel that presence within you. Take a breath and feel that presence. There's a Ricky Bowyer song that says, I won't move until I know that I walk in the love of God. So when you take a breath, don't move until you know that you're connected. And then it is from this place that we operate. It is from this place that we move in the world. It is from this place that we continue to live our lives. It is from this place that we're saying yes. So in order to find that peace in your own withinness, return to that sanctuary within you. Know that there's a sanctuary within each of us. And let's return to that sanctuary over and over and over again. That's how we come home to ourselves. That's how we return unto God each and every moment of each and every day. Take a breath. And from this place of sanctuary, let's move into prayer. And so just knowing absolutely that there's but one power, one presence, one mind, one life, one being, one source, one breath, God. That's what I choose to call it. But by any other name, it is the source of our being, God. The only source, the only power, the only life, the only mind. God. My life, my source, my mind, my very life is this only one. No separation. There can be no separation. And so any sense of separation that I may have is hereby banished, dissolved, for there can be no separation. For I am made in the image and likeness and out of pure spirit itself. And each of us is made in the image and likeness and out of pure spirit itself. And so just knowing this truth, that there's that from which we can never be separate, that there's that is always right where we are, always right where we are in this moment. I speak the word for each of us this day. Just speaking a word of peace. And peace of mind, knowing that that peace that passes human understanding is ours as we continue to align ourselves with this power and this presence that is our very life. And so as we do this, we release the anger, we release the grief, we release the fear, we release the doubt, we release the anxiety, we release all the stuff, we release the news. And we stand in the truth that we know. That God is all there is. That God is right here, right now, right where we are. That God is always guiding, always directing, always showing us the way. That God is in the midst of the meltdown that we have. And God is working in the release that the meltdown gives us. We're in that place of allowing God to be God in our lives. Knowing that God as God is all that there is. That's all we need to know. Is His power and His presence that is always with us. And so I simply say thank you, Father, Mother God, as we just continue to move forward. And I speak this word for anyone on this planet needing a prayer this day. Anyone on this planet needing a prayer this day. I know that God is in the midst of every situation and circumstance. And so as I open this circle of prayer, I pause momentarily so that you may speak the names of anyone you'd like held in prayer. You may speak them silently or loud, and you may speak them now. And so for all those whose names were spoken here this day, I know that God is right in the midst of everything that's going on. That right where each of them is, God is. For God is everywhere present, always. Thank you, God. This prayer goes out to the entire CLF community, just knowing that right where each one is, God is blessing and keeping, loving and uplifting. Thank you, Father, Mother God. Thank you, Father, Mother God. I say yes. Thank you, Father, Mother God. I just allow it to be now. And so it is.